Good afternoon, everybody. It is August 9th, 2025 at 10:55 a.m. Central Standard Time here. It is nice and sunny for now in the city of Rockford, Illinois. I got a special guest on our podcast today. Her name is Bryanna. Here she's going to talk about the story of her husband and what's happening. I'm going to interview her, ask her some questions here, and just pretty much have a casual meeting here, an interview here and stuff here. That way, people from the far right can't sit there and say, "Oh, he's making all the stuff up." No, we're just going to have a casual conversation here and stuff. So, yeah. How are you doing today, Bryanna?
I'm doing a lot better, thank God. How are you?
I'm doing good here. It's Saturday. I don't have to work today here. I'm off on the weekend, so I'm spending my time here getting to talk to you, which is awesome to have you on the show here.
Perfect.
So you want to tell people, like, how did you end up meeting your husband here?
We actually met up at a bar. I'm not really a bar person. My friend dragged me out that night. um, and we instantly just clicked. At first, I just wanted to be friends. And so we were friends for a couple months until we officially started dating. And yeah.
Like, what month and year did you end up meeting him?
It was November 2022, I believe.
November 2022.
Yeah.
And so you guys met at the bar. I'm not a big bar person either here. Like, I have had friends try to bring me to the bar to have a good time. It's just not my cup of tea here and stuff like that. I'm not a big alcohol person either. I know that we met each other on a TikTok live here, keep with Zeus here, and I've seen you on a few other TikTok lives here with you telling your story here a little bit. Um, like when you met your husband, did he tell you what was going on here or anything like that?
Um, so when I met him, he just showed up to the United States, I believe, like 2 or 3 months before we did. So when I tell you he had nothing, he literally had nothing. So the first date, he was like, "Hey, like, I want to invite you here," and like you can tell just looking at him, I was just like, "Hey, like, what's going on?" And he was telling me about his whole situation. He told me how he came into the United States, so he walked all the way from Panama all the way here to the United States border.
He walked here. How
Yeah,
many miles would you say that would be?
probably like, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000. I know it took him about a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we people born here in the America in the United States here, we complain about being lazy here, about walking even a block, but yet your husband walked over 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. I'm
Yeah.
like, I could not even imagine doing a trek like that. I'm like, I have an immigration attorney. Her name is Sarah, and I believe it's her husband that does like bike treks here, like across the country here, and it's like you got to be like extremely physical fit to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I take it that your husband, since he walked that far, and it sounds like he was a pretty fit dude here. He was like skinny and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what's crazy is a couple months before he started his journey here, he actually got in a motorcycle accident. So he actually had to train himself to be able to come because, he had to learn how to walk again.
Wow. Yeah, I have a motorcycle myself here. I just started driving early last year. I'm 38 years old. Always said I would never drive or ride a motorcycle and stuff. And look at me, 37 years old, starting off at motorcycling. Now, you know, I've been hearing some of your story here. So, your husband is now back in Venezuela after you said he's self-deported, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And he had to be caught up he had to stay in the I'm going to call it the concentration camp here
Yeah.
up until he left the country. They would not let him wait at home until he self-deported.
No.
They didn't give you the option. They pretty much said that he has to stay here until he has the money to self-deport.
Yeah. Um, and the crazy part is, I did have the money ready, and they didn't deport him until 3 weeks after. Um, So he was just sitting in there for a while.
Like, are you able to describe to the crowd here, like, what were the conditions like here when he was in this concentration camp here? Like, how was he being fed? How was he being treated?
Um, that's a hard question. He was getting treated really bad. Of course, there's some nice people in there. He met some really nice guards, but there's some guards that are crazy. There would be days where they would just set alarms off for hours. I would call him in the morning, and the same alarm would be on at night. Thank God I was able to send him money so he can get, his other needs, like ramen. That's all about it. Ramen, Cheetos, stuff like that. Sorry. Wait.
It's all right. So you had to pay for he still had to pay for food and stuff while he was in
Yeah,
there.
I had to pay for phone calls. I had to, on top of like all the lawyer fees, everything like that. And it's not cheap food, but it's cheap food, but they don't sell it for cheap.
Yeah, they sell it expensive here, but give you like the dog food taste of the food,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. But he went through a lot. There was a lot of people in there that are not so good people. They would grab pens and fill them up with feces and start, jabbing each other with the pens so they can get infected. There's a lot of stories he hasn't told me yet because he's still really traumatized. But the worst part about this whole experience is when he had to wait in Texas for him to deport. He was there for about 5 days. And it was terrible. He literally got to Venezuela so weak he couldn't even pick up a pen because he wasn't eating. He said the water that he was drinking tasted like salt. It tasted so bad. So he wasn't even drinking water.
That's crazy, and I can only imagine how the other people in there were being treated here, especially with your husband being the way that he was when he got back to Venezuela.
Exactly.
Like, I know that this is one of those traumatizing events here. You go through a traumatic life event like this, and it'll scar you for the rest of your life. Does your husband ever want to come back to the United States now?
No. We already talked about this whole situation, and he's traumatized. He's like, of course we can try the process again once this president leaves, but until then, he just doesn't want to.
I'm like, I made a video on TikTok. I've been watching a lot of videos here. I'm like from different news articles, TikTok, YouTube. There was a couple out in California, a Latin couple out in California, that basically voted for Trump in 2020 and 2024. They went down. They were going to a dental appointment. Yes, yeah, they were going to a dental appointment, right? And they went down a road and went the wrong way. Well, they ended up getting pulled over by immigration's customs enforcement and was basically profiled here. And the guy sat there and was like, I don't understand this. I'm an American citizen. I didn't think I would be one of those people that would be targeted here. And I'm like, I'm seeing these stories left and right. This guy actually regrets his vote for Trump now. And it said he would go, if he could go back, he would change his vote. I'm like, you know, these people kind of make me worry here. Like, why is it that you have to go through this experience here to learn about it before you listen to what people on my side of the aisle are telling you? I'm like, when Trump was going through the campaign here last year, he was talking about, would you rather have a white president or would you rather have a black president? The whales are causing cancer, or they're or let's talk about this one here.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
That famous statement from the Haitian immigrant community out in Springfield, Ohio here. and stuff, where he sat there and said that they were eating the cats, they were eating the dogs. Oh my god, and stuff like that. I mean, like, and then what he did was rile up his base, right? He riled his base up. So for like 2 weeks straight, the attacks in Springfield, Ohio, went up. There was bomb threats to schools. There were bomb threats to government buildings. There was people being threatened here by their life on that. I'm like, Donald Trump has said it right out of his mouth. Immigrants are poisoning the blood out of this country. We tell these people that voted for Trump that now regret it here, all that. And yet that did not deter them from still voting for that man. What do you think about that?
I wish they would have just listened before. Like, I have a lot of Trump family members still to this day after seeing what I'm going through. And it's a cult. They're just like brainwashed into thinking this guy's gonna save the country, but it's actually getting worse. And it's literally just like brain rot. I don't.
There was a poll that came out here that I think was it earlier this week here about the Epstein files. If Trump was to be implicated on these files here, 47% of his supporters would still support him. Imagine how scary it is. Jeffrey Epstein, for everybody not understanding who Jeffrey Epstein was, he basically ran a child sex trafficking ring here and did bad shit to kids. And yet 47% of his supporters would still support Trump, even if he was implicated on the Epstein files. Now, the other background is Donald Trump was best friends with Jeff Epstein here and stuff here. And it's hard to believe that he would not know what his buddy was doing. It's really hard. Like, it's crazy that these people are ignorant. Even on that poll, 26% of people said that they were unsure if they would support him or not. And I think it was like 25% said they would go to a different party if he was implicated. But the fact that 47% of people would still support him and 26% of people were unsure, it's a scary time that we're living in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, like, these people sat here and they're basically the party of rules for thee but not for me party here. They want to set rules for everybody else, but when it comes to them, they don't want to follow those same rules. I'm like, to give you some of my story here, I was scrolling through my dad's Facebook yesterday to look at one of my aunt's Facebook. She comes from Mexico. She immigrated here to the United States back in the late 80s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She had a child that she brought with her from Mexico, and then she married my uncle, and then they got married and blah blah blah. She had 2 more kids and stuff like that. Well, I was scrolling through her Facebook yesterday, and last year she was a hardcore Trump supporter. She couldn't stand the LGBTQ. She couldn't stand that people were just walking through the border and all this, and they're like believe in Christian nationalism, that if you're not a Christian, you shouldn't be in this country. It's those types of deal here. But I'm scrolling through her Facebook here, right? And yesterday I scrolled through like 20, 30 minutes, I believe, right? And she's sitting there posting videos of what's her face here, Kristi Noem and Donald Trump here. She's bashing them now about how they're handling this immigration deal. Like, come on. I told you what they were going to do, but you still voted for them as well. Even I got family members, as you see, that are Trump supporters. And it's like these people don't learn until it happens to them. And I don't know if there's anything that we could ever change about this here. It's like, I remember as a kid, my dad told me not to play with fire. You're going to get burned here.
Exactly.
I would sit there and play with the candle. My dad would consistently tell me, and I kept not listening to my dad, right? And one day I touched the candle, I put my finger right on the flame, and I burnt the shit out of my finger. And it's like, sometimes these people have to learn the lesson the hard way, and it's sad that it has to be that way.
Exactly.
Do you have any children with your husband yet, or you haven't gotten to that part of your life?
No, we've had two miscarriages. We always tried, but no, not yet.
I'm sorry to hear about
It's
that.
okay. It's okay.
So I'm like, do you have like any plans on going down to Venezuela to see your husband?
Um, yeah. So as of right now, I'm actually packing everything. I'm starting to move. Um, because at this point, I don't even want to be here in this country. I truly don't. Um, so I'm gonna actually move down there with him. Um, of course, there's the safety concern because I'm an American, and the dictator that's there just hates Americans. So
We wonder why.
I don't blame him. So what we're planning to do is stay in Colombia for about 2 to 3 months until I can get a visa through him, and yeah, I'm planning to move out there. Just
And that's crazy. Because, like, I feel the same way. If I didn't have any family or friends or community around me,
yeah.
I would go to another country myself. I'm like, there's a lot of things that our country has done horrible to people, but there's a lot of good things that it's done as well. But like right now in this time frame, it's like we're living in an alternate reality kind of universe here, where we have somebody that has been convicted of 34 felonies, found liable for sexually assaulting a woman, telling a 10-year-old girl that he would date her in 10 years, someone that has walked into Miss Teenage USA pageant locker room saying he could do it because he's the owner. It's like, who would ever think that we would have a person like this as president?
Never in a million years. I wouldn't.
I'm like, there's a lot of states where if you are a convicted felon, you can't even vote. Like in the state of Illinois here, you can get your voting rights back once you're out of prison, pretty much here and stuff like that. But you can't vote while you're in prison. And I know that there's a group of people in my state that are actually working on fixing that here. That way, people in prison could vote. But it's just like, it's like kind of having good morals here about being a good person, about being a bad person here. I'm more of a democratic libertarian, if you say here. I don't care who people marry. I don't care if a person wants to be trans. I don't care if a person's LGBTQ. We should be loving everybody, caring for everybody. I'm not a huge Bible thumper. I would consider myself like a follower of Christ here, where you're supposed to help your brother and sister, help people from other countries, and just do follow what Jesus teaches you here. And I'm like, I've been doing this political activism for the last 4 years. I got into politics in late 2020, and it's definitely challenging. Sometimes it just makes you want to take your head and hit it against the wall and stuff like that. I'm like, had some own trouble, and it's like this year I'm even seeing people on our own side of the aisle eating each other up. Like we're fighting with one another. It's like I've seen people that been friends for a long time that voted on the same aisle eating each other up. And it's like, come on, focus that negative energy and focus it towards Donald Trump and his administration here. With that, I'm like, if this is what they want to separate us. That way they can continue to keep winning. And if we keep on infighting and we keep on being separated from one another, we're going to end up losing the midterms. We're going to end up losing the 2028 presidency. I'm like, whoever the next president is, if it's a Democrat president in 2028, what Trump is doing now is going to take decades to fix. It's going to take decades here. And it's just crazy that, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to said that they supported him because he's a good businessman,
Oh my god.
which I laughed at that myself. Like, how are how are you able to bankrupt a business where you sell steaks and alcohol, the two things that the people of the country love, steak and alcohol, and bankrupt it? How are you able to go bankrupt on that? How are you able to bankrupt a casino? A casino is like a never-ending thing of money coming through.
Exactly.
So I'm like, like right? Does you and your husband like communicate by like phone mostly now or by FaceTime?
Yeah, through FaceTime. Now that so actually when he got to Venezuela, they wiped out his whole entire phone. So he
They factory reset his phone.
yeah. So he was like trying to figure out because thank God I thought ahead and I'm like okay I'm gonna leave my phone number and like where his family's address is and all that. I left it in his pocket on a little paper, and thank God I had all that ready because he's like I was just so drained I didn't remember anything. And when he grabbed his phone, he's like, "There's nothing." So, but we've been talking regularly. Right now, he's with family. He's at the beach. I just been trying to have him get out because he was detained for 2 months. So, just get out. Now you have freedom. I know he's still really weak, so I'm having his family feed him a lot. But he's doing a lot better. He did write a little note to the whole community that's been behind him, so I'll send that when we get off here. But
Like when he was in the concentration camp out in Colorado, like was it like an enclosed building where you didn't get any sunlight or you couldn't go outside?
they probably got like this much of sunlight. It wasn't a lot where they can work out, but it wasn't. It was just like a little square piece of sunlight, and the rest was blocked off.
So you didn't really get a lot of outside in
No,
there.
nothing. I couldn't see him. It was only through like a glass window and a phone until we had the court dates, and I couldn't even touch him, anything. So
Pretty much like how you see on TV where they're behind a glass wall and stuff like that.
yeah, the first time I had a panic attack because I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen my husband in a week. Like I'm gonna be able to see him, hug him, and I walk into the room and I'm like, what is this? Like he's not a criminal. Like I just went crazy in that room. I truly did.
It's just like, it's like we all watch the news here and we're seeing how immigration customs enforcement is ripping people away from their families here, ripping kids away from their family here. There was recently a story where there was a raid. I forgot what state it was, but it was at a restaurant. And when the immigration customs enforcement was sitting there doing that raid, they literally tore this business apart and even set parts of it on fire. I read an article here last week here on my podcast that I did last week that talked about how immigration customs enforcement is breaking windows and being more violent, and it has gone way up here in this administration versus any other administration with them breaking car windows at a higher rate here. I'm like, there's videos of these immigration customs enforcement officers giving people instructions and not even giving that person enough time to cooperate before they break that window and stuff like that. I'm like, I know, like, the United States immigration system is broken. It's needing to been repaired for decades now. And the issue is like, we have a 2-lane highway, right? And that 2-lane highway has over time crumbled and crumbled and crumbled and crumbled, and it hasn't been repaired. And which is why we're having all these issues. We got both Democrats and Republicans here don't really pass met legislation to fix the issue. And then our current president here believes on ruling the country with executive order. And he sits there and complains about how a lot of his executive orders are either being held up in courts or being denied because of him rolling off of EOs, like the one for the 14th Amendment, Section 1 for birthright citizenship. It clearly states that all persons born here are U.S. citizens, but yet he made an executive order trying to get rid of that. And now it's held up here in litigation and all that. And I want to be confident and positive that the Supreme Court will uphold it here, but it's hard to say when he stacked the Supreme Court as well. There's like very little that can be done other than the federal judges, but once it leaves the federal judge and goes to the Supreme Court, he pretty much gets his way.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is why people call him a king, and we have no king protests here because it's like there's not much that we could do other than the judges that Obama and Biden and Clinton, and there's even been some Ronald Reagan federal judges that have sided with us as well on things here like that. But I'm glad that I get to live in the state of Illinois here. J.B. Pritzker, he's running for a re-election for a third term, and he jabs Donald Trump every possible way that he can and stuff like that, which is awesome.
Love that.
I love that. Him and Gavin Newsom here, and that's why Trump doesn't like them because JB and Newsom sit there and don't tolerate the shit that Donald Trump is doing here. I'm like JB doesn't care if the immigration customs enforcement comes to Illinois, but we're not going to have our police do their job, right? That's what we have what's called the Trust Act, which basically, to simplify it, states that our local law enforcement is not going to work with immigration's customs enforcement. They're more than welcome to do their job, come here and do what they need to do, but we're not going to have our local police assist them with that. And one of the famous analogies I like to use here all the time is like, let's imagine a cashier at Walmart, right? Here, we're not going to take that cashier from Walmart and have them build a 50-mile highway because that's not their job. They're not trained to do it. It's also not their job. They work for Walmart, not the Illinois Department of Roads and stuff like that. So, and we got Republicans wanting to repeal that law. They want to repeal the Trust Act. Republicans sit there and say, "Oh, sanctuary city this here," and they don't understand what a sanctuary city is. What a sanctuary city is basically we allow anybody and all people in here, and if it's an undocumented immigrant, right? They see a crime that's happening here, whether it's somebody unaliving somebody or raping somebody or some violent crime like that, they can call the police without fear of being deported because of their immigration status.
Yeah.
And a lot of Republicans want to get rid of these sanctuary city policies. Well, if you think about it, if we get rid of sanctuary city policies, these people that are here undocumented here that are working and doing the right thing are not going to want to call the police when they see a violent crime go on and stuff like that. So I'm like, I love living in a sanctuary state here. The whole state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. By the way, for Trump supporters that probably will watch this here or listen to this, you know who signed the Illinois Trust Act here? It was a Republican by the name of Bruce Rauner. And he caught a bunch of hell for it, but he said it was the right thing to do. And it's just the hypocrisy.
Sorry. Oh my.
Yeah, I read a lot. I watch a lot of videos and I learn and stuff about that. And like I'm friends with an immigration attorney in my city, so I get to learn a lot of these things. Like a lot of Trump supporters think that when you seek asylum, you have to do it at a port of entry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to look up Title 8 USC 1158 Section 1, here if I pull that up here. It says any alien who is physically present in the United States or who are residing in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including an alien who is brought to the United States after having been interdicted in international or United States water, irrespective of such alien status, may apply for asylum and in accordance with this section or where applicable. Nowhere in that section does it say that they have to apply for asylum at a port of entry. It just says that they have to be present in the United States here. So it doesn't matter if they swim across or they come through on boat or they go through a port of entry. And then basically what happens is they have 1 year to file for asylum, which the form for asylum is I-589. You have up to 1 year to fill out that form to claim asylum. Now, around that, I believe it's like 92% of people are not approved for asylum, and only like 7% of the people applying for it are approved for the status and stuff like that. So it's just like I hear this all the time. A lot of Trump supporters are believing that they should just do away with asylum policies altogether, which is just asinine in itself because you don't know what a person's going through in another country here, right? You don't know the struggles that they're having to leave their country here, like in the case of Venezuela, Maduro here, who I believe, what was last year or the year before, uh, won re-election, but he really didn't here. The other person that ran against him really won. And now he's having military people hunt after those people that won the election to put them in prison and potentially unalive themselves. I'm like, they are being politically persecuted here and stuff like that. I'm like, when you have regimes like President Maduro out in Venezuela here, I'm like, it's hard to stay in a life like that.
It truly is. My father-in-law actually worked for the elections. He was a poll worker. And he actually sent me, I think I can send it to you. He sent me all the receipts showing that she won. And he had to go into hiding for about 4 to 5 months because he was scared for his safety. He still can't go, he can't walk around his own country freely. He has to be really careful. That's why my husband, thank God, he's with other family members far away. He just doesn't want to see his dad right now and put him at risk. Yeah, it's crazy. My husband fled there because he would protest against this government. He would get beaten, crazy stuff. His brother was actually in prison for 7 months because he went really crazy at a protest, and that's when he decided to leave Venezuela. He stayed in Chile for a couple of years, and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of bad people from Venezuela. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of crazy people. They start going to Chile, and he just didn't feel safe in Chile anymore. So that's when he came to the United States, and towards the end, he didn't even feel safe here. So he prefers to be back into a country that would beat him than the United States.
It's like, and that's what I say here, because there are good and bad people in every country here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I do believe that we should screen people coming into the border, but we should keep violent people out. But people like your husband here that was not violent, has not been convicted of a violent crime or anything, should be able to still be here. There's a lot of DACA recipients that were brought here at like 1, 2, 3 months old here, went through the American education system, K through 12,
Yeah.
went to college, became doctors, nurses, IT people, whatever, such and such, got a skilled trade job here, became electrician or such, that they want to be an American citizen. They want that. And but there's just not a pathway of citizenship here for them right now.
That people think it's like, at least Trumpers, they think you just go in and you ask for citizenship, and that's how it is. It's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. I'm just.
I'm like I had friends that gone through the process, and I had a friend that is still undocumented here. I'm not going to say what his name is here to protect him, but and yeah, he still supported Trump, and but I
Oh my
sat there and
god.
stuck up. I stuck up for him and stuff for like that because at the end of the day he's working 50, 60 hours a week. He's providing for his children. He goes to church. He doesn't go out there committing violent crimes here and stuff. And regardless if he voted for Trump here, it doesn't make me think of anything different from him because it's the humanity of the things at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't like the decision here and I call him a dumbass for supporting Trump, but at the end of the day, I still would not want him deported here.
No.
I'm like, I think anybody that has been in this country for a decade or two here and has been working hard, paying their taxes, whether they pay through a fake social security number that Trump supporters want to say they're still paying taxes, or if they want to use an ITIN number, which is the individual taxpayer identification number, they file their taxes at the end of each year. If they're doing all those things here, grant them amnesty, give them amnesty here. Anybody that wants, I'm like, I don't care how you want to do the amnesty. If you want to make each person fill out a 50,000 chapter book, then have that person do a 50,000 chapter book because I bet a lot of people would rather do that 50,000 chapter book than going back home
Uh-huh.
here.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you want to make like even a stipulation that, oh, maybe if you want to stay here, you'll have to pay an additional 4% taxes for the next 5 years, and if as long as you pay on time, that will grant you citizenship. Do that. But I'm like, I'm fine with small things like that. The other thing here is just like, there's a lot of good people out here that are not like them here, and I think eventually that Trumpism will die down. We are starting to see signs of it here, even though that some of them are still loud. There are people that I've talked to in the last couple months that regret their vote for Trump and have regretted their vote for Trump and are wanting to vote Democrat in the next election here. We're seeing like in different states here, I believe in Rhode Island here recently, there was a special election where a Democrat won over the Republican. There was about a month ago another state, I forgot what state it was, Democrats won. And there's Democrats all over the country winning special elections right now. And I imagine if we keep up that good momentum, that we are more than likely going to take back the House. I don't know if we're going to be able to take back the Senate, but we'll be able to take back the House. And if we take back the House, we can at least stop any legislation from passing here, other than like basic budget stuff that needs to be passed a year from going through
Exactly.
and stuff. And then we got to figure out a way to get people motivated to vote. And I'm hoping that what people are seeing the Trump administration are doing will inspire them to rethink their life choices and get out there and vote. I'm like, I recently seen that Dean Cain, the dried out Superman, you know who Dean Cain is, right?
No.
Look him up. He used to play Superman in a TV series, Lois is Superman, I believe it's called. And he would sit there, if we all know the story of Superman, right?
Yeah.
Superman, I'm going to do it in the way how Trump supporters say. He would be considered an illegal alien. He came to this country illegally. Here, his spaceship landed in Kansas. Here, he was he was harbored by his mom and dad and raised here and
Oh my
stuff like
god.
that. And he fought for the American people and stuff. But I bet you if Superman was a real person, Trump supporters would be the same one to deport him. Be like, Superman, you're not allowed here anymore. Get the fuck out.
Exactly.
But yeah, Dean Cain is a dried out Superman here. and stuff like that. You could probably do a little research on what he looks like and what he looked like when he plays Superman and stuff like that. And it's just crazy that I'm like, I grew up with Dean Cain here playing Superman, and I used to like his show here, but it's just like, where did you go, Dean Cain? Superman would stick up for immigrants here that are not violent and stuff like that, and help out all people. Did you get to see the new Superman movie?
I haven't. I actually never seen like any Marvel, any type of movie like that. I
No, no.
know. I know. I need to get into it. I do.
Yeah, a lot of the Trump supporters are calling the new Superman woke, which means if it's woke, it must be good. Stuff like that. It's just, it's so good to hear. It's good to hear from you, Bryanna, and hearing your story. But it's sad that you're going through with the stuff that you're going through with your husband. It's just like, I don't think anybody should be going through what you're going through here.
It's crazy. We have built a life here, and like I'm calling him through FaceTime. Like, what do you want me to take? What do you not want me to take? It's crazy I can only take 3 luggages with me to pack up all our life in 3 luggages, and of course we have 2 dogs. For right now, I can only take 1. So thank God my dad's gonna take care of my other one until we figure out what's gonna happen. But
Like, are you gonna end up driving down there or flying down there?
flying, yeah. Yeah.
I guess you wouldn't know if you guys have started looking for houses here. Probably not.
We're just planning on staying in an Airbnb until then, and I'll probably just work virtually until then. He's a barber, so he can find a job anywhere. So
Tell him to come over and give me a haircut. Well, wait, he can't come over. I will have to go over and let him give me a haircut.
You're totally invited. Once we come back into this country, we're planning on doing like a road trip, like a 50-state road trip. So when we head to your state, we can go see it.
Definitely. Well, Bryanna, it definitely was awesome having you on the podcast here.
Thank you for having me.
I don't think I have any more questions here, but I definitely like to invite you back here once we learn some new information. That way we can keep our audience here informed of what's going on and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast here.
Yeah, thank you.
And give me 1 second here. And everybody, I want to say thank you for listening to this podcast. It was awesome to have Bryanna on here with us today here. I hope everybody has a peaceful, blessed, loving day here. Make sure that if you're not registered to vote, to go to vote.org and register. Do what you got to do to get out and vote here, because at the end of the day, these fascist Nazi bastards don't care about us, and we're going to have to go out there and fight for ourselves here. So other than that, this is Tyler from M&T Podcast. I'm out.
Feeling a kid.